Hello friends, let us now start to know about 1984, the 20th century novel written by George Orwell, a British author, and this is a dystopian novel, and it is by name 1984. This is the product of 1948. It carries all the pessimism associated with the geopolitical forces of the new post-war dispensation. England reduced to airstrip 1, ground up between larger powers, a nation bankrupted by war, in hock to the American banks and forced to break up its empire. Interestingly, Orwell's exaggerated vision of his present bears no trace of the transformative post-war Labour Party, then in power, openly as democratic socialists involved in the process of constructing the armatures of the welfare state. Yet, despite its reputation as a rather undialectical dystopia full of unrelieved despair, 1984 does always seem very interested in the resources of human resistance. In the first part of Orwell invokes in this novel the power of private memory to resist the state's rewriting of history and explores the reserve of the unconscious, that is, Winston is always dreaming, and he dreams are woven out of his personal memory. Winston is the main character and he is the protagonist of this novel. Okay. And in the first part, he explores here the resistant potential of desire and sexuality, described as the force that would tear the party to shreds, and of purposeless art. Represented by the useless beauty of the paperweight, he cherishes that embodies a little chunk of history they had forgotten to alter in this novel. These are all systematically dismantled by the party's reprogramming in the closing chapters of the book, of course. That is, yet even if 1984 appears to have no interest in the working class as an agent of history in the resistance to totalitarianism, the book's exploration of the power of memory, art, sexuality and the unconscious points the way ahead to new kinds of cultural criticism that would emerge later. The first title for this novel was The Last Man in Europe. It was earlier called as The Last Man in Europe, the earlier title, first title, but Orwell changed it because of Frederick Warburg, the publisher, who suggested him to change the title from The Last Man in Europe to the other title, and because it is unknown by why he has chosen the title 1984. There is presumption that he might have been switched the numbers, that is, he began writing this novel actually in the 1948, and so he called it as 1984 later. So, the story occurs in London, a province of the state Oceania. There are 4 provinces, one among them is Oceania, and beside Oceania there are 2 more totalitarian states that controlled world. One is called as Eurasia and the other one is East Asia. Oceania is a totalitarian state ruled by a group, that is the party, which the leader and the dictator is Big Brother. Actually, it is the resemblance to Joseph Stalin. So, what happens in Oceania is that almost everywhere in the city, nook and corner, there the posters of Big Brother with the slogan "Big Brother is watching you" can be found everywhere in the city. So, public thought is guided with slogans, and the slogan is "War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength." This is the slogan of this totalitarian government in Oceania. So, Oceania's citizens are divided into 3 classes. The whole Oceania was divided into 3 classes of people. One is the inner party, second one is the outer party, and the proles, the third group. So, they have no right either to a personal life or to personal thoughts, or memory is quite cancelled and the past is considered as something forgotten. So, there is no respect or no response or no value or no chance or no opportunity for the people to remember the past as it was. So, they have to alter, they have to change, they have to remember only the present, and that is totalitarian government and the control of the government and big brother is watching, and the slogan, that is war is peace, freedom is slavery and ignorance is strength. So, the party monitored the citizens through Ministry of Truth. The thought police has set hidden microphones everywhere in the city, telescreens in all living quarters and in every public area, how they can find and spy thought criminals. So, children are also taught to spy their parents. So, including children only were also selected and they were trained to spy against their own parents. So, and report their suspected thoughts to the government. Children only played the role of the spies in the Oceania. So, in Oceania there are 4 ministries. One is Ministry of Peace, the other one is Ministry of Plenty, and the Ministry of Truth, and the Ministry of Love. And the language of them is the newspeak, and they have short forms for in their communicative purpose. One is Minipax, Mini Plenty, Mini True and Mini Love. So, newspeak is the minimalist artificial language invented by the party, especially meant only for the Oceania, the party. Okay. So, now let us see this novel as a dystopian novel, the politics of dystopia. So, Orwell's novel 1984 is a dystopia in itself. It is a distinctly 20th century extension, because 20th century witnessed 2 world wars, and this is the inversion of the long tradition of the utopia. Utopia is the good place, imaginary good place. It can exist only in our imagination, good place. So, such dystopias typically envisage the relentless forces of a technological society that extends its power over the human race. Moreover, they offer a nightmare of the individual crushed by inhuman state of forces. They portray a nightmare future in order to launch a political critique of the contemporary. So, 1984 depicts a society under a dictatorship where thoughts and actions are monitored and controlled from every nook and corner, from morning till evening, even throughout the night. The thought police moved and roamed all over in the city, and they heard the thoughts and the discussions of the people. Okay. So, no person was allowed to do anything on their own. There was no value or no permission for anything of their personal deeds or actions in Oceania. So, of course, there arises an essential question about 1984, whether it shows Orwell's hope or interest in the potential for opposition of to the totalitarian state, or it is just his despair. There arises certainly a question like this. It is like a humanist lament that is despairing, that it ends up building a momentum to anti-humanism. As 1984 is, it is like mirror, as W.H. Hudson only tells it that literature is mirror of life, criticism of life. Similarly, what Orwell does here in this 1984 novel is that 1984 is, it makes the readers find their own politics or social system reflected. So, totally 1984 is, it is like a challenge or distorted in its fiercely polished plain prose. Perhaps due to this reason only, many literary and political critics have been engaged with the novel in one or the other way. So, this is all about 1984, the novel by George Orwell. Thank you one and all, and the remaining part we will discuss in the next session.